but probably have plenty of questions to ask during anyway.
Let's go.
Okay, well, welcome to the stream. Welcome to your coaching session here. So your level 262, Richard with the great sleuth. So you're level 262, Kanna?
Correct.
And what is your what do you do like in a week? What do you like doing, and what would you like to? Do you have any goals that you would like to reach?
Yeah, so I pretty much into the daily story lately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of time to grind lately.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly play around events. I would say I just finished my Pink Bee and Yeti title, and tomorrow I should be finishing getting the coupons for the Rock Spirit 1.
Okay.
And besides that, I tend to do weeklies mostly. As a Kanna, I was pretty. Let's say that there are not a lot of main Kannas in my guild anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to jump into a BM party. April was my third month, I guess.
Okay.
Now it's a matter to make sure if I have the damage to do the Lotus, the Lotus mission.
There's a big upside, right, to starting early, but then the downside is the liberation missions can be quite tricky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do around. I have, I'd say, 3 Lomian mules. One of them from Destiny, one of them from Ignition,
Mm-hmm.
and another one that was more brute force. And
Okay.
I have another one that's running CRA. My plan with Sager is to build a kind of a second main with a Corsair.
Okay.
That I'm already level 211, and running trading Galaxies and running trying to build Absol gear. But my plan is to work mostly around the Kanna as a main, and I'm hoping, I would say, for a buff pretty soon. I'm putting kind of all of my coins on that expectation. But let's see. Even though Kanna currently is pretty weak, I would say, in damage, I really like her playstyle. I really like mobbing and play around summons. That's why I made a Corsair as a second main.
Yep, makes sense. Yep.
And that's kind of it, mostly.
Okay, so it's just general progress within the account and trying to fill out the required role and damage to make sure that you can stay on the liberation path and you don't fall behind.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right now you're not like well, because usually when we do the quest for the liberation, we kind of do the quest a month ahead of time, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So right now, so you did 3. Hang on, remind me. So there's Arc, Von Leon, Magnus, and then Lotus?
Yes.
Is that what's going on?
Let me just check the list right
Trying to
here.
check it out.
I already went through Von Leon, Arc, and Magnus.
Yeah.
Lotus is the next one.
Yeah, so that would be the one that you have to clear in May. Or
correct.
Before you clear the Black Mage run in
before the May run.
Before the May run or before the June run?
The May one.
Because the
usually we don't run at the beginning of the month. My last clear was, I believe, last week. So that's mostly it. I believe that I probably have the damage to do, but I don't have a lot of fingers, I would say. Good fingers.
Yeah.
So to me, running Lotus, it would need to be a kind of fast run. I thought about looking for a duo in Reboot Central, and that's probably doable since, again, I'm a Kanna and there's not a lot of Kannas in the server anymore running that late into the game, that into the liberation. But that's mostly it.
Wait, can you duo? I thought you could only duo starting at will. Can you do all of them duo?
I believe I can, but I might be wrong. I'm not sure where I get that information from.
Yeah, I thought they added it for the later bosses. I don't I don't remember if it was for all the stuff.
That might be true. That might be true.
Maybe someone in
I'm not
chat
sure.
knows. I gotta just like store that in my brain that way, but I don't know. Yeah, someone says you can do a starting will. That's what I
Or
thought as
starting
well.
will. Okay.
Yeah. So I think before that you just have to. You're gonna have to power through them yourself.
Right. Yeah. I believe that I might have enough damage and just like
Mm-hmm.
getting used to the bosses. Let's see.
And have you done practice runs or?
Actually, I haven't. I
Mm-hmm.
do mostly normal runs with
Yeah.
another people in the guild. I already got lucky, and from my first berserker, it went straight up into 22 in the last shining.
Okay. Nice.
So Lotus hasn't been my priority
I
lately,
see.
like
Yeah.
in the recent days.
Right.
But let's see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely do practice run because also, I mean, if you're running normal with other people, I assume to get Abso stuff on your other characters, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but if you get better at the hard and you can exchange hard, then you can get the Abso stuff way faster if you be able to use that as a exchange.
Yeah, sure.
So that could speed up your Abso because that's probably not going to be possible anymore after the upcoming changes where you need minimum percentage damage, right? It's going to be harder to carry them.
5% more.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be good to know. So I would definitely just do practice runs for sure. Phase 1 would have to be really fast. I mean, you'd probably go in with a charged domain, nuke phase 1, and then bind phase 2 and do as much damage there as you can.
Yes.
And then you want to kill phase 2 probably before your domain comes back, and then maybe kind of stall, and then like charge your domain in phase 2. And then finish off phase 2 so you can go into 3 with full domain and then do another big burst starting there.
Yes, that would be my plan too.
That'd be the goal, yeah. When it comes to hands and stuff, I don't know if you have like videos you can go off of with like the attack weaving and stuff. Is that something you can do with like the Tengu weaving?
Yeah, I'm used to. I haven't gone through a lot of videos and asked questions in the Kanna Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that, I don't remember right now, but I believe I'm running around 71 Tengus at a 40 seconds something that we kind of do. So I'm not optimal, but I can do the minimum, I would say, from the people in the kind of Discord server mentions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really comes down for Lotus. I felt like Hard Lotus was always kind of tricky, but once I started doing Black Mage, Hard Lotus started feeling way easier for me because just phase 3 of Black Mage is just so much harder. So when you're doing Black Mage, do you stay on the right side? Do you fight on top of the boss and do you like do all the dodges and stuff?
Yeah, especially since most of my P3 runs I die to super lasers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best for me is just to keep under the boss itself and ducking and everything else. I don't actually deal damage. I don't try to keep doing Shiki and Tengu in Black Mage, but I try to stand down on the boss and try to practice the rest of the mechanics that it requires. Especially to avoid super lasers.
Yeah.
Because with Foxfire, Kanna doesn't have a lot of problems with marks because Haku is just broken basically.
OP, yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. When you say ducking, you're trying to not duck too much, right? Just only when the kick happens.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, because otherwise you make the super lasers and then it even becomes harder, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the thing when people get kicked and then out of range or people duck too long because they want to be safer, but then you become less safe, a lot less. Okay. Yeah. Well, because I would definitely you just have to go in and practice and see what happens. The main thing will probably be if there are many things that happen at the same time. So you'd want to save your iframe, probably your big demon in the background, right? Your ethereal form in case there's a really crazy shit situation. You have your is it the Shikigami Charm? That's the knockdown resistance.
Yeah, I have.
And in desperate situations, you could or no, what's the No, Shikigami Charm is the up jump thing, right?
Yeah, you're talking about Exocharm.
Exorcist Charm, yeah. Exorcist Charm, yeah. That's the knockdown resistant, right? You might want to... Sometimes you'll have to use that, right, if Lotus is right on top of you, and that's the only platform. There's not many other places you could go. There are some things you could do. You could do like Shikigami Charm in the air, into Blink,
and
then yeah, that's useful. Yeah. Or Orochi,
I got
maybe
used
sometimes.
to that, especially running Enlomium Mules.
Mm-hmm.
The up jump and Blink helps a lot actually.
Yeah. Of course, for hard, it's going to be not as reliable because there's way more stuff falling from the sky. But your Blink should,
correct.
Maybe you know 100% safe, but do you know 100% which stuff and which skills allows you to, in Blink, like get stunned and still stay? Because in Black Mage, sometimes you fall, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I feel like there's like 2 layers of knockback or something, and 2 layers of power knockback. Because if I do, like on my arc, if I blink and I get kicked and I'm in Flora mode, I'll fall. But if I blink and I'm flying in Spectre mode and I get hit, I won't fall. Because that guy's knockdown resistant. But I'm using my own float and not blink, then I think I do fall still, also in Spectre. It's strange. I need to explore that a little bit, because I feel like it's not... It might be consistent, but I don't know what the consistent rule is there. But yeah, so and with with Orochi, like you have definitely some arsenal for survival. I don't think survival is going to be the main problem. It's going to be a lot of baiting out attacks and just always, you're not going to be actively looking at the ceiling, right? You're just going to see stuff in the corner of your eye, and then it's got to become automatic. So it's going to be practice. But a lot of it, what I like to do is just stay pretty close to the boss and just teleport behind Lotus. And when you see the attacks, and it might not be as fast because of course your teleportation doesn't really do damage, but you just want to make sure that you're totally alive. You're pretty burst intensive, right, on the Kanna?
Yeah.
Especially around your domain. So yeah, your Vanquisher's Charms, trying to squeeze in that second Vanquisher Charm a little bit at the end of the burst, kind of thing.
Basically, domain, Charm, and Sakuno mostly.
Yeah. That's good uptime, right?
Yeah. It really makes a difference.
Because and it's kind of like mini Infinity, right? Like it scales up in the final damage near the end. Yeah. It
is.
And the thing is also not bad, right? The Sengoku Force. It's like a decent amount, or is that kind of a negligible amount?
It kind of depends on the rolls.
Oh, you want the crit damage one, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Without that one, it's a little.
That's the best one, I'll tell you.
Is
the
it
IED kind of okay. It's 22% ID, but the critical damage would be the big P damage one.
Yeah, better than nothing. Yeah, because you can look at all the metrics and you can look at your stat and look at your ID and all of that stuff, but it's still going to come down a lot to just practice and feel. And a lot of it comes down to I make this comparison a lot, but do you know the old Mr. Game & Watch? Like the little mini games. Do you know the fire one?
Yeah.
That's basically Hard Lotus, right? It's like which one is bouncing first, which one do you need to dodge, what is the priority? And it's basically like you're juggling the people bouncing out of the building, right? By not getting hit.
Black Mage is kind of the same.
Exactly, yeah. So I think if you've gotten more used to Black Mage and you're feeling more in control with Phase 3 Black Mage, I think that was what it was for me. Like Hard Lotus was pretty hard. We were still like dying out sometimes and feeling like it's so unfair. But then once you start practicing Black Mage and then you go back, it's like you turn the dial of difficulty up to a 12 and then you turn it back down to like an 8 or something. And then suddenly it feels like you have way more time to respond because there's so much less going on in Lotus, just objectively, than in Phase 3 of Black Mage. So I think mechanically you'll be fine. It's going to be like, where do you find the opportunity to post your bursts? And of course, try to, if there is platforms and there is a shitty situation, sometimes maybe bind early. You can also use your bind kind of almost as an iframe, right? Because then he doesn't do the laser. And that can give you some breathing room as well.
Exactly.
And then maybe you delay your next domain by like 10 or 15 seconds because maybe you did a little bit early. But it's better to do that than maybe risk a death.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Play safe, right?
Yeah, especially if you're just doing that clear for the liberation. And if you feel more confident in it and you're like, oh, there's a lot of gains to be made here, then you can definitely move into like, okay, maybe I do want to like exchange hard Lotus carries for the time that's still possible, because that can get you some Absolab on some more boss mules, and then, you know, with less money you can get them some decent funding there.
Gotcha.
So in general, is your goal for your Kanna to just, you know, sky's the limit, like go on to the next bosses? Did you say you had like limited time to play? Did I?
Yeah, it kind of floats on. Currently, I'm playing mostly around events, but as soon as Saber hits, I'll probably rush a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. But
But
more
the
a
thing
little
comes and go,
on the Corsair, or?
and yeah, probably on the Corsair until
Yeah.
250. But to be honest, unlike you, I feel like I'm more a specialist than a generalist related to this game.
Mm-hmm.
So my train of thought for Saber is mostly to take advantage of the 250 character.
Sure.
And this is the first time that I actually know what class I would like to play besides Kanna. I wasn't aware of that before with Ignition and Destiny, so I went Paladin and Nightwalker in the last one. And they're kind of decent, but I figured out that I really like to play around summons.
Yep.
And even though the perfect trios for Corsair are kind of a nightmare, I was able to get them already.
A little. I mean, sometimes a lot seems like a nightmare, but if the real nightmare is, what is the ratio of the amount that you need versus how many there are, right? Because you could say like, oh, Hayato is not that bad because you just need like 2 skills. Yeah, but there are like 28 skills, so good luck on getting them even. Yeah, so
Corsair has
that one's so
14,
horrible.
I believe.
Yeah, but you do 9, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So 9 out of 14 is still like. I think it's probably around the same as a Cannoneer, if I'm not mistaken. Cannoneer is also, you want a decent amount, but there's so many. And I open like a few hundred nodes and be like, oh, let me just redo my boost nodes, and then get absolutely nothing even worth doing. It's like, oh, okay, well, never mind.
Harsh.
But so those are like decent boss mules now, right? They can do, Nightwalker does like, 24 mil, so you can do slime, or not yet?
I actually settled down with just Enlomin, haven't tried Slime yet. Because I figured out that running Last Resort, I'm pretty bad running Last Resort classes. So I kind of settled with Enlomin for Nightwalker, as since most of those games were just basically playing Ignition and using the profit that the event provided me. I'm settling down with Enlomin with them, and Down Warrior should be getting there pretty soon.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, my goal for the 250s is to eventually get to Slime and to include it in the rotation, but it's definitely not something that you can just automatically do just because you're 250. You know, like symbol levels are gonna have to catch up, and you know, general. And I do my funding very slowly, right? I do it like with all the money I get from the other boss meals, like all of the cubes. So just it takes its time before it gets to that point, and you're gonna have to push some nodes as well, which you only want to do if you have extra, of course, not whenever you can, because then.
Yeah. I'm kind of on a budget right now on nodes.
Mm-hmm.
After the Corsair destruction.
Oh yeah. Well, you did all of your boost nodes, so that probably took like a few thousand, I imagine.
I stopped counting. I know that I have around 80 left.
Okay.
And that's it.
Double digits, yeah. That means start saving again.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, right. That seems. I mean, it seems pretty clear then. Do you have anything that you had written down, like any specific questions, any topics you wanted to make sure that we cover?
Yeah. So in the last training I got mostly 21s, and I tried to push the Berserker into 22 to see if it would just blow up, and it didn't blow up. But
nice. Yeah.
And my arcanes are 19. So going through your progression grid right now, I would need to work with potential mostly, because not everything is tree lined right now. So I need, even with accessories, some of them are just 24% in my damage gear. So I need to work with them right now. But with the changes that might or might not come to GMS related to the defense lines, I'm thinking about waiting until Black Friday, mostly, just to save, because I already faced that. As you usually say, this game is mostly a marathon and just not a sprint. And I'm currently comfortable with the damage that I have. I'm able to do mostly everything that this game offers. I'm running a 4-man C10 party. So I'm basically almost getting the pitched waiting room.
Yep.
And I'm able to run those. So I'm not in a rush to do games right now. I'm mostly saving money, thinking of events for now.
Yeah, like for more functional spending than just because it's available type of deal, right?
Yeah. So going through this long run, the only thing that is screaming to me right now, it's my WSE lines, because I don't have a proper Haku fan yet. But I'm aware that it would take me a decent amount of money to make one with triple line magic attack.
Yeah, you don't have one now, and you don't exactly have one waiting for you either. Once you liberate, it's not like the other one is 3-line attack and you have that one on the back burner.
Exactly. I will need to build one of them. Currently, I'm running, as you're seeing in the stream, so it's basically 5-1, but one of the lines is mostly dead, and it kind of screams to me that something needs to be done. But I have gone through some sort of calculators, and it seems that
it's pricey.
Checking from a cost-effective perspective, it wouldn't also be the most priority to put effort on, because it costs really a lot, and we don't know which percentile I'm going to hit, right?
Yep.
So that's what screams the most to me. The main question that I would have related to this, I put all those features so you could take a look. I would like to ask about drop and meso gear, because I haven't found previous sessions. I have watched most of your coaching sessions for the past 6 months, but I don't remember if in one of them you talk about what would be a settle for a meso and damage gear, because with the damage gear that I'm currently running to, I don't need to trade to do most of the weekly income bosses. But I'm not aware how much should I be pushing with meso gear, or should I just settle with easier mobs and just wait the sacred force to stack, because I already unlocked Burning Serdium, but I do much less damage in Burning Serdium than in Serdium itself. So I'm not sure where should I be training right now.
Wait, Burning is 265, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you unlock it early?
I'm 266.
Oh, okay. It said 262 in the picture. That's
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
266. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm 266.
Yeah, so there's a few. Go for it.
60 sacred.
66.
So,
okay. Yep. You're definitely very heavily sacred gated. There's a few layers. There's like the layer of the gear, the layer of the sacred, and then there's the layer of the within the gear. There's a whole bunch of layers, right? So if you're purely going for EXP, most likely it's going to be the highest level maps that you can get access to, or you can kill properly in full damage gear. If you want to make a decent amount of money while training, ideally this is around the time where you start thinking of, if you play your main, you probably want to focus on the EXP here, mainly for levels for Black Mage and for content after that, and access to new areas, building up the next sacred symbol faster, etc., etc. And your income probably doesn't need to come as much anymore from your main character. and you want to start scaling up the boss mules around this time. That's kind of like the idea. Scaling up like a side character is either because you just want some more variety in your gameplay, or for some people, if they went for EXP very quickly, they might be lower on the familiars, and then they need to kind of have a side character just to make sure that they can feed familiars into their main character to hit what they want to hit. But I think familiar wise, you've got yourself a decent amount already, right? You got your large healers.
I'm still thinking about trying to get more boss
Or
ones.
boss, maybe, yeah. So
Yeah,
you don't have to
'cause that
redo your
would be-
emblem, right? Because now you might be a little
Yes.
bit high, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from Kanna Discord, that was most people actually go for. It's mostly boss damage familiars. But yeah,
Like
that
140 IED would be like golden, I think.
exactly.
Like 140
Ooh, that
IED and
would be
2 boss, I think that's what Connor's really want.
That's mostly the goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for familiars.
Yeah.
And since I don't have a lot of time to play, talking about backups, I would say I'm mostly meso gated, because I already have 21 superiors and I have more than 2,000 coins and I guess 8 superior belts, because I've been running trains to get coins for the reinforced mules. But the meso income hasn't come to the point that I can just click on them. So I guess I'm waiting for Shine to try to push those to 22. The Meister, the earrings, and superiors in general. And that's mostly it. I have been saving those ping pings for no reason, actually. But maybe there's a reason eventually. And
you have inventory space, right? You might as well.
Yeah, I still have those. And as I am very risk adverse, as you say often, I'm saving a bunch of arcanes before trying to click them beyond 19, because I know that after that it's not that free, I would say.
Yeah, I would have really
So
only
I'd
do
like
that
to-
on big events, especially if you're as patient as you are, like on big 6-month events on Shinings.
Exactly. So that's mostly it. I don't believe that I'll be making huge gains on the gear before huge events, as you said. Right now it's mostly around shinings or cube sales for now.
You have 3 legendary Dominator pants? What's up with that?
Yeah, I went with one of them temporarily, as one was damaged, one was meso, one was drop, and eventually the other items got start forced beyond that. So they don't have any point to be there anymore. But I don't know, maybe eventually we'll be able to
eventually source and you're
exactly
superior. So yeah, I mean, so to tie back to the drop rate, I mean, just like with Lotus, that it's a matter of practicing. I think it might be a matter of when you train now, what's your configuration? What do you?
I'm running the meso. It's the picture before that. I run mostly into damage gear, and I have some specific meso accessories that mixes meso and damage.
Yeah. Okay. And then 1 line extra drop on the
Yeah.
Tenebris. And so you train in Cernium like this, and you're able to clear properly, full map clear, or close to it.
Yeah, I'm able to run the Wandering Scholars.
Yeah.
I basically one-shot them. Domain needs 2 hits, but since we're waiting for 7 seconds, it's enough to clear
That's
the
no
maps.
problem. Yep. And you're looting
In
during
Birdium,
domain.
it takes a little more time. So when I don't have the big summons, either that being the domain or the huge demon background, it takes a little longer. But to be honest, most of my leveling lately has been done just through dailies and Monster Park. So I'm just running this secret secret dailies, and I haven't done a proper full wealth or something like that in Mesoing for a while.
Yeah, it's kind of tempting to just kind of like wait for the levels to come to you.
Yeah,
I get that.
especially when you're kind of time gated, as I am right now.
Yeah, when totems are gone and Kishin doesn't increase spawn anymore, it's like the perceived
Hmm.
value of your time went down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because not only can you not lazy with a totem, now you to get close to the rates you have to put way more effort in. So just feel like you have to work more for
Yes.
those levels if you're not just Monster Park and dailies.
Exactly.
See that there are the earlier maps in Burning Cernium are 70, right?
I believe they are the Flora Soldier is the one that
Yeah,
I
the
actually
foot
go.
soldiers, yeah.
Yeah, Foot Soldiers.
Flora
70, exactly.
magician, yeah,
And I'm running on 60 right now, so it's almost there.
yeah. But it's it's 10% reduction per level, right? Per 10 levels, so you're
I
getting
believe it is.
10% final damage reduction.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it is. And yeah, my question would be mostly that would that be a meta push damage, sorry, Meso Gear until, I don't know, 21 stars or something like that? Do we have something as that we can call a meta for
Mm-hmm.
that deep in the game?
I think the only the what I feel comfortable with, and I think the main reason why people would end up with like 19 to 21 or something on Meso Gear is mostly because gear used to be other damage gear when it gets repurposed. So, for example, if you were to re-roll your Twilight Mark because you have the Berserk now, and you rolled that
Mm-hmm.
one for Meso Gear, then you would wear that one as a Meso piece. And that would
Got
give
you.
you a lot of extra damage. The problem, of course, is you want to get all your meso lines on as few items as possible. So ideally, you keep rolling until you get like a double meso, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my Demon Avenger got really lucky with the triple meso piece, so I have just 2 pieces, and that gives me all 5 of my lines, and then everything else is full
Awesome.
damage. So that allowed me to basically, whenever I was able to get into a new area, immediately train there. Like barely, like with guild skills, with a whole legion set up, hyperstats, like everything specifically for training.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I was like barely able to train in a new area when it came out because yeah, the sacred power definitely. And now at 276, I probably wouldn't be able to train in Odium, not reliably at least. Probably be
Mm-hmm.
in Arcus for a little bit longer.
I
That's why
see.
I'm just waiting and doing dailies, get more sacred power, and then maybe I can once I start training again, maybe get there to 280 or something. But that's mostly how I would go about like having high. So let's say if you do get an eye patch and then you repurpose the monocle, right? That's how I
Mm-hmm.
would go for high Star Force Meso Gear. I wouldn't make it on existing ones. I feel like that's a little bit too much side. For me, I think it would make more sense is to just kind of practice in different setups. I kind of see how much money you would really be missing out. Like let's say that you did do Burning Cernium, like the higher level ones, maybe the 100 Sacred Power ones, and you did that
Mm.
completely with damage gear, just to see how much money you're actually missing.
Got
And
you.
then you have the information for yourself, and you can decide like, okay, how much money am I
Yeah.
okay with missing? How much do I want to push EXP? And then you just have all the data, and then you can decide in the moment for yourself. Because I think that will give you more information, more data points to decide on, than me just telling like, oh, you have to get it all to 21 stars. Because that might be a huge financial investment, but then that financial investment might not even be overcome by how much money you would be making extra than if you just go into damage gear instead and make a little bit less money there. Like that
Yeah,
might
that makes
take you
sense.
like more than 10 levels, and then by that time you have the sacred power, and then you could train there in Mesogear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I usually think if you can train in Mesogear, then you can probably train in damage gear one area higher, unless it's like a really big jump in sacred power, right? So more like the lower level ones versus the higher sacred power ones, and then it's just your decision. Like, am I going for EXP or am I going for more all round, more for also Meso? I
Mm-hmm.
think I think it'll be a good idea to start looking at like which characters you'd like to make money on instead, and just put a little bit more research into like which characters do I want to make into a boss mule, and then have
Mm-hmm.
that income so that you keep steadily making more money, so that the pressure of needing to wear meso gear at all times on your main character kind of goes away. You can still do it like if you're doing the low level symbol dailies and stuff, but when you're actually training, that you're just doing like exp, and if you have a vac pet, then that loots whatever it can. Because that might be a big factor as well in like, I'm wearing full meso gear, but you have to go around the map. You have a pretty easy time with domain and everything, right? And with your summons, you can cover a lot of the map, so you don't lose a lot of respawn while looting. But generally, more platforms, more monsters, more money, harder to loot, right? Those things just tend to go hand in hand. So unless you have a vac pet, there's like no shortcuts there to making sure that wearing that meso gear also results in a lot more income. And because of totems gone, the total amount of monsters we kill per time is less, so it's going to take you more time to earn back the investment into the meso gear if you were to do that.
That makes sense.
So I would look more like the repurposing gains, because I mean Twilight Mark, it's got 83, it's got a really good flame as well. So even if it's just one line of meso, then boom, that takes another piece out, and then you can decide what you do with that piece. If it's 17, yeah, it's all around the same, right? 17 star or event items is all pretty similar.
Yeah, especially for Kanna as we use HP.
Yeah, the events is probably closer to like 18 or 19, right?
Exactly.
HP and the MP scaling, yeah. Not bad. But yeah, investing specifically into those pieces, because like your dropper gear is also really good, and you got a lot of those double lines going on, so that's like your full for lower tier stuff. You have like 10 and 5 and 10.
Yes.
2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Yeah, that's really nice.
With those, that's my gear. That was my gear for Moonbridge and Limina.
Yeah, and Limina. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that you can fund your account with that. That's really solid. A lot of familiars.
Yeah.
You were a Moonbridge a little bit long. What is it? Is that LH6 maps, or what are these guys? LH2.
I went into... Yeah, I was in LH2 for a while, and then I moved to... Let me grab it here.
This is VC3, I think, right? This guy? The slug here in the middle?
No. It's oh shoot. I was most into MF3. MF3 is a pretty viable map just for Kannas and battle maids, I would say.
I went there where my marksman felt pretty good as well. So like just
really?
Up up and down, jumping through the middle, and then just shooting left, shooting right, and then because of the range, you can you hit pretty far. It was decent for me. But it seemed like not too many people went there, so it was always good.
Exactly.
Burn.
Yeah, I was able to get a pretty decent burn, and with totems, I was able to do about 0.9 billion for an hour. So pretty good income back then.
Yeah, old rates. Nostalgia rates, yeah.
Yeah, that was where most of them came from. But yeah, I guess my question would be, I guess, the last picture from that. I had tried to come up with calculators and everything else that we have as resources online, since I'm a programmer and I'm pretty much into optimizing things and pushing numbers into the most squeezed as we can. But I wasn't able to find something that could provide something like I know there are different sizes of a cube, you attack and boss damage and ID, but I was trying to find out if, I don't know, at some time I hit a different line clicking in my weapon when I would like to prioritize each one of those lines. So I tried to do something with cross multiplications and figured out how much attack would be worth a one of boss damage, and or how much it values a line of 30% ID, as you can see. And I know that these are different sides of a cube, but do we have consensus or some sort of resource that we can use to figure out which roles are better than different ones in running into black cubes, I would say?
So in general, so when it comes to cost efficiency, your black cubes are going to be more efficient if you have already really good potential and you want to be able to rely on that. Or if you're looking for double primes, then you want a black cube. In all other situations, red cubes will be more financially efficient.
Yeah, I'm thinking mostly about different stats. You know, when I should I prioritize attack or boss? Because
Yeah.
I was thinking of something. Let me see. Let's see my current weapon.
Yeah.
If instead of that I click into, I don't know, attack ID,
Mm-hmm.
do I have an objective or some sort of tool outside there that can tell me objectively which one of them is better?
Yeah, because like you said, you have all different sides of the cube, so you have the balance shifting, right?
Exactly.
One thing is, like earlier on, is that you have the ability to move to like shape your legion, your hyperstats, and your link skills around the numbers that you end up with, and that gives you more outs that you can then work with. But once you get to the point where you are and everything is kind of like maxed, the amount of options that get better than what you already have, they diminish, right? It is about a balance between the three for sure, and because this is Suckhart's calculator, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I haven't used that one for it. I usually use the simpler one. There is a much more complicated calculator that you can use under calculator, and this is really if you're trying to like end game min max. You may have seen this already, but you can put like literally everything in there, and
Oh, I was not aware of that one.
yeah, and then it gives you like all of the comparing stats, which I think this is what our stat window should actually say. 90%, well, maybe not 90%, but like 50% of what our stat window says is pretty unuseful. It should say this, right? Like one stat is this much secondary stat, is this much all stat, is this much percentage, blah, blah, blah. Like it should say that. And then whenever you change something in there, everything will alternate and it'll give you exactly what is the balance afterwards. So this is if you're really trying to min-max and you're trying to make sure that you have everything in one place, like this here in the bottom, right? Weapon potentials, for example. I think this is what you're looking for. So attack, boss, IED, and they'll have all the multiplication here. The one that I usually use is this, where you basically put in all the percentages. I think this one is probably pretty similar to the Suckard one. You put in all the percentages without your potential of your weapon. And then basically you do like this with top 50 or something. And then you can see how much final damage are you getting from all of your lines combined. And then you can kind of like find what you have. And then you can see what other configuration is technically better, or how many do there even exist that are better, right? And also by how much are they better. So if you have something and it's like, oh, it's not, people are saying like, oh, it's not best in slot, but it's giving you, 75% of final damage extra, and the very best you can do is only 76.8. Chances are that 1.3% is going to cost you like 300 bill or something, right? So is putting the 300 bill into your cubes, like you said, like just waiting for a cube sale and then going like ham on all of your potentials, is that going to give you more than 1.3? Like 105% certainty, right? So at that point you can be like, okay, I can rest with this WSE and I can be fine. And also the other thing is that you can kind of cheat if you have like double prime lines. Basically you can just add the damage in here a little bit, right? Because it only looks at like prime, non-prime, non-prime. So if you have like a double prime already that you're definitely going to be working around, then you can just add the number a little bit, and then you see immediately all of the calculations change a little bit. But sometimes you'd be I think some people will be very surprised. Like for example, like 720 here and 531 are like right next to each other, and there is like 0.001 final damage difference, but a lot of people will look at 720 and will always see that as way better than 531. But it just depends on these stats that you put in here. Like let's say that your IED is actually only 90. Now everything shifts very heavily towards the IED, right? The other thing is also that I think Suckhart's calculator, but especially this one, is based on the 300% PDR. But if you're ever going to be doing Saren, or ever going to be doing Kalos or anything like that, they have 380% defense. So it's going to skew more in favor of IED there. And I believe that's also... I believe you can also shift that here. I don't know where exactly. But that is also something, if you want to be future-proof, you want to give it even more in favor of IED, because the 380% armor versus the
300.
versus the 300. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you can see how much it shifts even at like 95, I think. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that resource.
you get this one up
Nice.
to like 600, and then immediately you get like, okay, you almost see no damage lines anymore, right? You need to go all the way down to here before you see a 2. But yeah, even like, but yeah, I see you have like 900. Most people are going to see 900 are going to think like this is the best thing since sliced bread. But you know, the person next to it can have a 621, which looks worse, but it'll just be more final damage. You just at that point you just you have to kind of trust the calculators and let it do the work. And as far as I know, this one is the most comprehensive and the most holistic, and the one that's best to trust. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll take a look on that.
Yeah. Or I'll send you the link here.
Yeah, sure.
Oop.
There's the command, right?
Yeah, it's under calculator. Yeah. I think you can download it as an application as well on your computer, so it can like do save files and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Cool. All right.
Yeah, because it's too many moving pieces for I think a human brain, right? There's too many possible errors you can make.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But the top one that makes sense, that like 1% attack is like around 4, because that's why the percentages are what they are, right? That's why you have 30 and 40 and 35, and that's why you have 10 and 13, right? That's what it's pretty close to that, because that's the head. So I guess mathematically they try to have it a little bit closer to 3 to 1. But because there are more sources of boss damage, eventually the attack is going to become more worth more comparatively, and that is why typically on your weapon you want 3-line attack, because it's level 160 plus tier, and your secondary typically isn't. But for you it also is. But that means that you almost always are going to need an ID line on your emblem, because you don't want it on your weapon, and it won't work on your secondary. So therefore your emblem is like done. Except the maths can turn out in your favor again once you go to a Saren emblem, because then Saren emblem is over 160 again, so that can go 13, 10, 10. And then sometimes people look into like 40% ID fams, maybe even double ID fams and boss, because so then they can go full attack on the emblem again. So that's also a possibility, that you kind of just like okay with this for a long time, wait until liberation weapon, go full attack, then redo your like basically just send a fan to 21, whichever one goes, and then work on that one's potential, right? Once you have some backups. And then I think wait until a Saren emblem, and if you get a Saren emblem, kind of see which outs do you want versus which familiars you have at that point, to see what options you have.
Awesome. Gotcha.
Yeah, I know I can't give you the exact numbers right now. All I can tell you is like where to find them, I guess.
No. I just need the sources. That's enough.
Yeah, it gets too complicated for for quick maths.
Gotcha.
1 + 1 is 2, but these maths are more complicated. Yeah.
I guess that was my last question.
Like the big questions for where to find that. Yeah. I'll just look through the screenshots real quick and see if I see anything. I guess you're still working on some of the matrix stuff, but yeah, as long as you can do what you can do, the nodes are mainly going to the side characters, right?
Exactly. I'm mostly working with experienced node stones with the Kanna for now.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, because those are typically super low value on undo characters, because you just want to work on the boost nodes there. Yeah. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, link skill wise. This is for like the Chaos Tenebris or something. You'd use this, I imagine?
Yes, and Black Mage.
And Black Mage, yeah, full power. And then if you're not full party, the Noble Fire probably switches out.
Oh, I removed the unfair advantage for Black Mage, but the thing is, I try to squeeze the elemental resistances due to the marks, and since I'm already not doing most of the damage, the most important part is that I can
survive.
Fully charge domain.
Yeah. You don't get blindsided by weird shit while you're charging. Yeah. Do you do like domain on one side, go to the other side to charge, or do you like run corner? Yeah.
Survival mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's all of the damage you're bringing. I mean, if you add up how much damage you're bringing, you're probably adding still quite a lot of damage to a strong party, as long as you do it well. You got the barriers, you got the main, and then You do the binding in phase 1 as well, right? That's all going well?
Yes.
Sometimes that, do they sometimes jump away, or is it pretty consistent now?
I've been practicing, so I believe after the first month, I was able to succeed in all the attempts.
Yeah, okay, that's good, that's good.
There's a lot of resources on YouTube about how to properly bind the P1.
Oh, that's good. Like what the indicators to look for when the boss is jumping, when he's landing, so you
Exactly.
can... Yeah, okay, that's
When
good.
like in the middle of an animation, can I bind now? Should I wait?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you had a bunch of people fail before you and document it, so you don't have to fail as much anymore.
Yeah, I don't have to pave the path again.
Thank God, yeah. Yeah, that's good. You're finding the resources that are disposable to you, so that's good. How's the critical rate situation? Because I saw the Innerability, and you got the Phantom Instinct, so you're completely on top of that?
With them, I'm able to reach 100% at the moment. I got 8% from Legion members, and I guess 1% with Hyperstat, and that's enough.
Okay. I guess you're getting to the... You're slowly getting to the point where, you know, like hyperstat-wise, you're going into 13s and 12s and everything, which does mean that if hyperstat-wise you have to go up to like 8 or 9, it's probably still going to be very cheap. And you can start thinking about, not quite yet, but when your Legion starts growing, it gets closer to like 8.5 or to 9k eventually. You know, maybe because of bossing mules it might happen. And, you know, more 250s and that kind of stuff. You could get into the situation where you get the extra... by adding hyperstats and maybe moving some blocks, you could get enough crit rate that you can actually start moving out of the Phantom Link. Because hyperstats just start up adding, and then you can get damage that way. Or the alternative, of course, if that takes too many points away in hyperstats, and you could otherwise just, you know, get another line of critical damage or something, which is of course very good. Then just moving into magic attack and intellect in the Legion instead might be like a simpler solution, like a little bit of a cleaner solution to making use of that damage, of course. But yeah, I don't know if you have a lot of different Legion setups, so if you have one that works for other characters as well by increasing their crit rate, then you could, you know, maybe it's not super optimal, but it could be simpler just to switch, you know?
I see. Yeah, for now I run mostly one for bossing and for mobbing. I love them around Kanna. But I see. The next step would be try to remove the Phantom Link, right?
Yeah, because as a Kanna, especially when you're bossing, you're never really removing the Beast Tamer, so the Kanna Link would be the... the Phantom Link would be the one to try to remove, yeah.
Awesome.
Or upgrade, you know, you're not just trying to get rid of it, but try and put something stronger in there. And then, of course, once you're very... if you feel very confident about your survivability, maybe because of the... what's it called? A Foxfire. Maybe you do feel more confident, then of course Spirit of Freedom is something that you could theoretically, if it's not Black Mage or, you know, Chaos Tenebris. For those bosses, I'm like, if you get even a little bit of survivability, you know, go for it, because you're only taking like damage links number, you know, 10, 11, and 12 off the board, which are probably already, you know, those are the weakest ones in the range. So if you're switching those out for a little bit of survivability, and that gives you ease of mind and can save a few deaths, then that's definitely, or even if it's 1 every 2 runs, that's still worth it, I think. But if you're doing more solo stuff, especially with Lotus as well, right? Like if you're starting to feel more confident and you're like, you know, maybe doing more damage, it can come into play a little bit, but not yet. But if you're doing like solo Gloom stuff, for example, just having enough extra damage can sometimes mean that the opens can be synced, for example, and then that can streamline your runs. Or sometimes you don't want to be stronger and you actually want to be a little bit slower, because otherwise it might desync your buffs with the open for Gloom. And then sometimes you want to actually take a little bit of back damage, and then maybe more utility and link skills can actually help. So, but again, that'll be part of experience, right? Like you do it a few times and be like, oh shit, he's open now and I have absolutely nothing. This is such a waste. But if he opened like 10 seconds later, then I would have had my extra skills. Yeah, that'll be experience.
All right. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Yeah, Legion grid, everything looks great. Did you have any characters in mind that you would want to maybe turn into boss mules, or you're just waiting for big events? Like,
I'm at the moment, I'm mostly a meta player, talking about boss mules. I enjoy basically any character, and with the changes that we won't be needing buff freezers anymore, probably even Nightwalker will become fun.
Yep.
Because lately Last Resort has been the only thing that has made me kind of struggle when bossing. So for now, when running the Golok strings, I'm getting coins on a marksman
Mm-hmm.
and the Corsair.
Okay.
But to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to get much more bossing meals after that. I believe that running one per day would be my limit. So I already
Mm-hmm.
have Nightwalker, Paladin, Gun Warrior 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I also have a Demon Slayer
Mm.
running that has already reinforced gear. So I believe with them after Savior, I would be pretty much done with
Okay.
bossing meals.
Yeah, that's usually my primary advice: is do as many as you feel like you have time for. Don't spend time funding something and then not have time to capitalize on it, because that'll just feel like the biggest waste. And then you have a bunch of pressure on yourself, like, oh, why did I waste my money? So, yeah, only make an extra one when you feel like you can fit it into your schedule. So, as long as you're thinking
Yeah,
about that, that's good.
a friend of mine have been running 8
Mm-hmm.
mules, and we kind of talked a lot through during our runs in H Blue Wheel, and
Mm-hmm.
he mentioned that he feels kind of exhausted having to run all of them, and I think that I would be pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
It would be maybe getting me closer to quit or stop
Yeah.
doing them and feeling bad about it because oh damn, I already funded them to this point and I'm not using them for basically nothing. So my mindset, I believe, is ready to stop after those that are ready, and those that are in progress should be enough. And as a last one, I went to marksman mostly because it's a pretty simple gameplay that
Mm-hmm.
I also like. I don't, besides the summons that I can put a timer in my in my browser, I don't
Beep
like
beep.
have to manage a lot of exactly. I don't like having to handle a lot of timers. So marksman is a pretty simple one and has pretty cheap nodes. So it was the obvious choice for me.
Okay. Yep. Oh, like, I mean, yeah. Those are all great answers, so I can't really see any fault with that. I can tell that you've seen a lot of my content and make very good decisions. I'll give myself all the credit for that. Okay.
Yeah, I've watched, I believe, most, maybe almost all of them for the past 7 months. I have gone
Okay.
through your coaching sessions, and I have a fixed tab in my browser for your commands. So,
Nice. It's always open.
as I mentioned in the beginning, big fan here.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and if you go back into the sessions before that, you're probably just gonna hear a lot of weird stuff about like advice that just doesn't apply anymore. Like, yeah, make sure you make those 21-star Absol abs, and you're like, what the fuck? Is that
Yeah, the
what
game
year is it?
progresses, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still like a place for 20-star Abzos. I think it still makes
Mhm.
sense because a lot of people are like, oh, arcanes are so easy to access, and that's sure, but it's very expensive to get 17-star arcanes. Like, arcanes weren't made to be worn as 17 stars. Like,
Mhm.
they were made to eventually get to like to 21 at least. Like, that's why they're there. Otherwise, you could just go Absolab because it's always way less efficient to go for like the highest tier ones, but they have the highest potential for damage. So if you want to min-max, you're gonna need the highest pieces. But if you just want really good damage that you can do most of the stuff in the game with, and especially if it's side characters, there's still a lot of characters where if you get 20 Abzo, you can do probably up until Chaos Tenebris, probably everything quite well. You get like accessories to 21, you get 20 Abzos, you get good potentials and everything. 2.5 line, you don't have to 3 line min max. WSE probably pressure a little bit more, as long as your symbols are maxed. Maybe even without familiars, like not too crazy there. Maybe you don't even need Oz rings, but those will probably help quite a bit. And you get into like 255 to 260, you can do Chaos Tenebris. And for like probably like 90% of people, that's going to be the furthest they probably ever get. Maybe they get slowly into Black Mage, but then, you know, you can, by that time you understand the game probably quite well enough that you can make your own decisions there. But for most people, it's still fine to not have to, maybe on your main character, right, you go for Arcanes, or if you have two, like you for your Corsair, you probably will as well. But for characters beyond that, I think it's fine to still go for Absos. They're still a lot cheaper to upgrade because you can transfer Hammer, right? You can just fodder some 150 into it, and that saves you so much money compared to, you know, once you start buying Arcane backups just at like 5 bill a piece, it can start getting pretty expensive pretty quickly.
Exactly.
19 is a good spot to be like. That's very, very efficient. And then 19 is very close to 20 Arcane, so to 20 Abso, even to 21 Abso, so that makes sense to be at that spot. But, you know, if you're gonna eventually go for 21, that's pricey. You need to to have those backups and have that income. Yep. Yeah, so one other thing that you mentioned was like cube sale and that kind of stuff, right? You definitely accessories, of course, especially you know where you're gonna be having the backups and when not. You kind of have to see for your brand of playing. Do you need 22s? Do you want 22s? Like some people just, a 21 star to them is just a 22 minus 1 star. I get the feeling like you don't think that way. Like you can go for 22s on the CR8 just because you have so many of it. And eventually you might go for 22, but it's not like your items are not done or, you know, you can't rest until everything is 22, right? Am I gauging that correctly?
I haven't made my mind yet for that. Actually, I believe that I'll be aiming 22 in the Kanna, especially because when I jumped into the game, and I believe still today, I'm not feeling that interested in fully jumping around in a second character.
Okay.
Even though I know that if I did it, it would be a Corsair. I'm not sure if I want to commit into it. I would like first to put some faith in Nexum. Oh my god, let's go chat about the Kanna buffs.
Yeah, let's get some copium.
Before committing into quit this character at all. Yeah, so that's basically it. If we get a moment where I believe that the character is dead or we're all going to become bishops or some copy pasta like that, I would jump into Corsair probably, but I would like to have the feeling of finishing 22s, especially since I already have a bunch of coins for Mercy, and my plan is to keep running bosses for at least, I don't know, 1 or more years. I believe that it's just a matter of time and handling the resources, and I'll get to 22.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to me. Like the goal from the beginning isn't 22, but if you keep liking the character and you keep moving forward, eventually you're kind of just gonna end up there, and you're already pretty close. You're already at some 22s, and most of it is 21. So it's gonna make sense eventually. I mean, yeah. So here are a few scenarios, right? So just to put these in your brain, like for example, I had on my DA, I had a 20-star Dawn Guardian ring, and I was like, it's gonna be 20 for a while, so I tried to go for better HP, and then it rolled 3-line, of course, and then I got it to 21, but then and I had 1 backup, you know, because of other rings I had. It made sense for me to try, but I only had 1 backup, and then it blew up, so then I had to transfer again, so then I lost that initial potential. Eventually it worked out and the second one got to 22, but only because I had a lot of kind of treasure backups and Meister rings and Superior and a reinforced as well, and of course Oz is another thing. So it's definitely a thing to, because I don't think you have any Oz rings, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, that is definitely something where with very little financial investment but greater time investment, of course, you can make a huge gain suddenly in your bursts with Aurora. And of course you pretty much only need 1 because it's like 3 minutes synced with Domain, right? And that's when you're doing all of your big bursts anyway. Whether you want to, you know, switch rings in between for the DPM, that's kind of up to you. But you pretty much just need 1 good hit, even if it's like a weapon jump Weapon Jump 3 is probably still an upgrade, but a small one. But Weapon Jump 4, Aurora 3, Aurora 4 are all big upgrades. Massive would be massive upgrades, especially pound for pound with how much that would cost you. And that is also something to take into account if you're trying to min-max your damage with a WSE, because it is a huge chunk of percentage magic attack, right? And in some classes, the Roar actually makes it so that because it gives you so much attack, that if you had like 900, for example, you'd be out of balance again, because now you have way too much percentage attack. Now actually 1 or 2 lines of boss would actually be better. So that's another thing to take into account. But for damage, that would be definitely something that, if you like the content, and it's something that you slowly build up to as well. It's something to take into account. But why did I mention it? Oh yeah, because once if you do get a nice Oz ring, that does take some pressure off and give you some more options when it comes to your ring situation. Could potentially, push some things.
I could use one of them as fodder and got you.
Yeah, like let's say that you're superior, because like your superior is at 24, but it's still at 21 stars. To me, that's perfect, because you want it to, like, you're probably going to eventually get to 22, but you want to make sure that it's 22 before you do like crazier things than this with the potential. So I would be okay with the items that are maybe going to be changing at some point, or that might not make it to the final cut, that those are like 2-line prime, or maybe like the 27s of the Earth, or like the 30 on the Dawn Guardian ring. That's totally fine. I would definitely not go beyond that. And other things like CRA, if those are not min-maxed, that's totally fine too, until there's like some cube sale somewhere. Like 21 on these, I think that's totally fine as well. Those are like the last things I min-max on cubing. Like I'll do my Arcanes to 3-line first. Why? Because the Arcane's going to trace, and that's going to stay, right? So that makes more sense. And these are just too expensive to to min-max on, especially the hat. It just eats money. But yeah, to kind of like classify that, I guess, to order that, I would probably, I would think it's probably just fine to not have even your accessories, but so you could do the ones that you're definitely going to keep one of, and that are not going to get transferred in any kind of way for your accessories, that you could get those to 3-line, but there's very few, like that would be like your Berserk, for example, right? That would be like one of the only ones where, because it's already 22, so that one's done, and you're definitely going to be equipping that. So that's one where you could go ham. If there is a cube sale right now, you could like just keep sending until you have it. Another one is probably one of your weapons, because if like one of your weapons hits triple magic attack, like
that becomes Haku's forever.
Yeah, then you just switch it, all right? Or yeah. You could probably roll the 40, 30, and 10 is probably a little bit over on boss, especially because you also have boss in the FAMs. So I'd probably roll that one. And then then you just switch them if it's a 3-line magic attack, and then you have permanent. And then when you do that, I would probably see, because you still have some gains for it, see if you can maybe switch the soul on it, because there is some magic attack there as well to gain potentially, right? Or are you out of Magnificence?
Do magic attack applied on Haku's man?
No, you would only be able to do that on the weapon one. So do it after. If you were to like recube for weapon, we do it after, once you determine the function of the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Probably the one that's being equipped by the Haku now. That's probably going to be that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was your weapon first, right? Because I see it has the Hearty Lucid, so you use that one first.
Yes,
for,
I use that. I still use that for mobbing. I kind of trade fams to keep because I wasn't aware that when Magnificent Lucid doesn't have the stationary summon. And after the event was done,
yeah, you're like,
I kind of summoned and figured out, this thing is following me. So
why is she doing that?
Yes. So I had to make another one, and now I'm changing fans when mobbing. But
that's some Nexon logic for you, right? It's like the Magnificent one is less functional than the normal one.
I know, right? Yeah, but
the other flame has more intellect as well, I see.
Yeah, it has.
Like 54 int or something. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's a T4 or something like that.
But
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Sacred is important. Savior is gonna speed it up quite a bit, right? If you can make it to 270, you're gonna be in the golden age of of symbols.
Yeah,
It's quite crazy. You're gonna be getting 25 a day for the first 2 areas instead of 15 now. So that's
I have a
huge
bunch
difference.
of goodies that are running like crazy to 270.
Oh yeah, you're racing?
They are. I'm not even competing, but because time gated as I mentioned before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there's I believe 5 or 6 goodies that are on this road together, and it's pretty fun to follow them through it because it's going to be huge. I guess we're having kind of we're running into a new generation of the guild, I would say, that is coming in and rising for these past weeks. It's been pretty fun. This game is fun, guys. With the right people around you, this game is pretty fun. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any. A lot of your stuff is so on point. I feel like I've just given you so much good advice already, over the years.
You have no idea, man. You have no idea.
Less work now. I mean, I guess interoperability is one thing to eventually consider, right? And that's probably linked again to once you do the test for the income and kind of see how much money you're making and how much you're willing to part with and how much pressure there is on bossing and your performance in that, and especially if you're trying to like solo more stuff, is like do you reroll that top line, right? That's what I eventually did for my arc as well. I had a very similar arc interoperability, except I had like weapon attack instead of critical rate, but essentially the same. And then eventually, once my income got to the point where it's either side characters, it's a lot of bossing mules, it's events, it's Ursus, like all of that stuff combined, I'm just either not training on my arc anymore, or when I'm training, I can't be focused on trying to get all the meso bags, because if I do that, I'll never get anywhere in levels. And if I'm gonna be on there and killing monsters, it's because I want levels, and that's basically what the purpose of the character is going to be. And as soon as I realized that, I'm like, that just means I have to redo my top line, right? And then it went to, for me, it's like passives +1, but for you, I guess I would go for boss damage. And that would be a nice chunk. And again, that would help you also be okay with losing the boss damage lines on your weapon and replacing them with boss damage here. Would kind of make sure that you don't go completely out of balance in the other way.
Yeah, if I were to 75, I would definitely have changed this line already. But since I know that I'll be leveling at least until to 75, maybe even more. So I'm keeping those.
Yeah, and again, as long as you can do all the things you want to do, it's just not necessary to change it. But once you start feeling like, if I min-max for this much damage somewhere else, it's going to cost me like, probably not even tens of billions, but probably hundreds of billions, then, yeah, suddenly it's like, by the way, interoperability is like way cheaper to get those gains instantly now, and then that will make more sense. And you got a good amount already. You got a healthy amount of honor XP during 50% off should be more. Should be pretty much guaranteed. There's a lot of outs for boss damage, even if it's only quote unquote like a 17% or something. It's basically like half a potential line, right?
Yeah. A prime.
Yep. Yeah, half a prime. Yeah, if it goes up to 20. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Did you have anything else in mind that you had any questions on?
Actually, I think we're done. I don't have any more questions, to be honest.
You good with everything else, with flames and stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty used to calculators and flame scores and and putting everything into Scardor and figured out how much an all stat line is worth it in stats, and so
yeah, I think you'll have. I mean, I hope that you'll have fun with like the big calculator. It's gonna be a lot of work from the in the beginning, right, to put everything in there. But once everything is in there, all you'd have to do is just like whenever you make an upgrade, you just slightly alter it. But it might also be interesting.
I'm also a spreadsheet guy, so as an example, I have a spreadsheet with the potentials and flames for every equip, so I can update it pretty quicker.
I see. Okay.
when putting the things in the calculator.
Nice. He has his own Discord as well. So if you have like specific questions on how to do something, that might be like a little bit of a instruction, or you can reach out on like if there's a patch or if something has already been implemented or something, you can keep up to date as well. Or if you have suggestions on how to change something, there's always it's always open for that as well.
Cool.
But it's like a
That's
passion
just-
project, right? So it's not someone making like a living off of doing that. So it might take a bit before it changes. But
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I think he connected it to paid Patreon for a while, but I think he just didn't get enough traction off of that, so he made it free again.
Oh, I see. I remember the project. The big project.
Okay.
Alright.
Well, yeah. Oh, you wanna give a shout out to Brazil Empire to the homies?
Hey, buddies. To be honest, I'm not sure if anyone in my guild is that involved in the math and this sort of optimizations, but I've seen some of them talking about you. So
Okay.
hey guys, shout out to Brazil Empire.
To Brazil.
Yeah, that's correct, Brazil.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you have anything else, you know where to find me.
Yes, I do.
And bom dia, I guess.
Bom dia, exato.
All right. Well, have a good one, and I'll see you around.
See ya.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, cool. So yeah, someone quite a bit further in the game, and what can I say, dude? You know, when you look at all of my progression sessions and you actually have my commands on speed dial, I mean, it's hard for me to find things to really nitpick and to really say like this is completely wrong. Which this is good confirmation for me as well that at least my resources are still somewhat up to date and that they do send people in the right direction. Because if people are actually picking them up and reading them and doing them, like this stuff is all really good. And you can tell that he feels like his hands aren't that great, or that he knows he's at lower levels, so he's working on his levels now. Yeah, I feel like other than introducing Oz, which huge gamba, which could give you really good gain there, and that could give you a little bit of wiggle room with the rings. But other than that, like all of this stuff is like this drop in Mesogear set is really solid. All this stuff is really good. The FAMs are great. There's always room for improvement, but like this is already really solid foundation. Backups are looking sexy, and the inventory is pretty clean. You got a 22 Berserk, so you got something to throw cubes on whenever you want to. So working on good backups, working on Golics, and actually working on Commercy. Doing I think great Legion build. Yeah, link skills, not too much you can do about this, and the nodes are kind of paused because you're building in width instead of in depth. All of it makes sense. So yeah, if you learn some from this, or you want to learn more, and you want to get all of that knowledge for free, check out all the progression videos on the channel. I think the playlist should be somewhere on the screen soon. If you want one of these sessions, check out the description of the video, or use the coaching command over in the Twitch chat over there, where you can see people using my clapping emote. And if you want to be there live for these sessions, make sure you check out twitch.tv/Scardor, where I stream every day. And you can also just tune in whenever and ask me any question. Now, if you're going to ask me something to the extent of this, like how should I do my entire account, I'll probably say maybe get a session with me. But any smaller topics, any more limited questions, limited options, or you're just trying to get an insight in one of the systems in the game, either use my commands that are available under the exclamation mark, and then you can use exclamation mark commands that gives you the entire list. And that's the list that he was talking about. Or you can just ask me directly, and I'll probably send you to the command so you can do some initial digging and some research. And then if you still have follow-up questions, we'll be more than willing to help you out. So yeah, either check me out there or watch the next video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see ya.